Hola. Today I will continue on the subject of the ego, part 2, and this information comes from my booklet, True Freedom is Inside. Many people experience a new level of consciousness because of a tragic loss or a shock. This chart here represents the different levels of consciousness, and our goal is to go on the roof. From every level of consciousness, we see different things, and we cannot see what's at the higher level of consciousness. Hola, from Cascada Café de Tiro in Popayan, Colombia. With the present great world confusion, I wish to do my part to accelerate the evolution of human consciousness. Please help by subscribing and sharing these videos. Thank you. Some have lost, so when people go through this shock, they have lost their positions or their children or an only child, their spouse at an early age, their social position and reputation, or their physical ability. All of these examples can be called an emotional limit or a shock situation. Whatever I had identified with, whatever gave me my sense of self, has been taken away. Not everyone who experiences a shock situation or great loss also experiences an awakening, although it's common. Many individuals create a strong mental image in which they see themselves as the victim, which is very common at this level of consciousness. This victim mentality and the emotion it creates, such as anger, resentment, self-pity, become their new identity. Whatever tragic loss occurs, I either resist or I allow and let go. Letting go means I accept, I consciously welcome the situation, and therefore I take responsibility for my life. Emotional resistance causes an inner contraction. Here we have a chart that represents the philometer, and my whole body is in contraction. The ego is holding on to negativity, and all of that negative energy is being held in my body in this contraction. I'm closed to life. With my family, I have to take practical steps to detach myself. For me, the jail provided this forced separation from family, but it also provided protection. When I don't react to the ego of others, I am dissolving my ego. Acceptance of the present moment, the acceptance of jail for me, the jail experience for me in my life, was an opportunity to let go of many of my ego personalities. So we come back to this chart where the representation of the many ego personalities which surrounds my body. The state of humanity's consciousness manifests in the external reality. So I must recognize ego for what it is. It's a collective dysfunction in the form of insanity of the human mind. Look at what's going on around us now with this COVID. It's pure insanity. So I need to work on seeing the ego for what it is, and it's becoming easier for me to be less reactive. I don't think take things so personally anymore. I try not to fuel the drama anymore. I want peace. It's coming back to here. I want to be at peace. I want to be at zero emotions. I don't want to be in contraction, and I also don't want to lose my energy and always be in expansion. I want to be at zero. So by not fueling the drama, I create inner peace, not drama. I don't need to be right. I just want to be at peace. So ego is slowly losing its hold over me because I'm more vigilant and in the now. Falling in love. Great representation by Guy. Falling in love is an egoic want and need. I become addicted and dependent of another person in a codependency relationship. I need my partner to provide me with my survival needs and wants. In return, I agree to provide what my partner needs and wants. Has nothing to do with true love. I love you. What does that mean? I need you is certainly more appropriate. True love contains no wanting or needing whatsoever. Egoic patterns will dissolve once I recognize them and stop opposing them. Opposition is the energy that feeds the ego. This is why Guy never opposed my ego when she recognized it in me. She never told me I would go to jail, even though she believed I would. Once I was in jail, Guy knew she had to wait until I showed signs of releasing my ego. When Guy was moved from within, she called Jean, the lawyer. She did not think of doing it with her mind. She was moved from within to do it when the time was right. So I'm becoming aware of my unconscious expectations, because expectations are always unconscious. I always have expectations. This is part of my program and reactions. I recognize my egoic needs for parental approval. I want them to understand me and accept me for who I am. My parents will not be capable to disidentify from their role as my parents. And my ego is still uncomfortable with not having their understanding. Their approval or disapproval does not change who I am. But the emotional attachment is still very present, even though my awareness is also present. The family, and specifically parental detachment, is without a doubt the most difficult ego dissolution step. With my children, I must give them space. They're adults now. My responsibility towards them is accomplished. They need space to be. They came into this world through me. I am their biological mother, but they don't belong to me. And they're not mine. I don't hold the belief today that I know what's best for them. I should not have any expectations of how their life should unfold. Therefore, I'm present for my children, even now, while physically separated by many countries. They can write to me, but they don't. They will make mistakes and they will experience suffering because that's what all humans do. I can't stop their mistakes or their suffering. They must learn on their own. Their mistakes may only be mistakes from my perspective. What I see as a mistake may be exactly what they need to do or they need to experience. Letting them go, allowing them to be, is what I must consciously do. This is what my parents have not been able to do. As long as I was a successful dentist, I was respected because this was a positive reflection on the family. Because of my mistakes, I have the opportunity to evolve. Otherwise, I would remain shallow, identified with the lie, the illusion. The jail experience suffering, again, suffering, destroyed a few of my ego personalities. And since there are so many of them, the jail experience dissolved a few of them. The opportunity to evolve otherwise was there because I was in jail. Otherwise, I would remain shallow, identified with the lie, with the illusion. Unconscious suffering will not destroy the ego. It will actually feed it and strengthen it. I serve jail time, yet I'm not a criminal. I'm playing the role of a criminal in order to learn my lessons. There's nothing personal about this jail role. It's just an experience I needed to live. Ego is constantly in search of a high. And we're going to come back to this chart. Ego is constantly in search of a high. But the high is always short-lived. It doesn't stay. I personally know nothing about street drugs. In jail, I learned that cocaine and crack give a very short high. A $30 piece of crack gives a high of just a few minutes. Immediately after this intense high, the user needs another high. The vicious cycle starts and it becomes almost impossible to break. The inmates that I met in jail had no intention whatsoever of stopping their addictions. Their trip in and out of jail was just part of their life. They rest and recover in jail. They put on a lot of weight with the bread and the very high carbohydrate diet. So they have extra fat energy available to them once they're back out on the streets. Wintertime is a very good time to get caught and go back to jail because it's pretty cold out there on the Canadian streets. Ego mind is addicted to the high. The high can come from winning a fight, getting more money, getting a higher social position, accumulation of ownership of things, or the physical drug or alcohol abuse induced high. So for all of these highs, no matter how long they last, eventually the low will come. The low will come. And the ego mind will work very hard to get out of this low at all costs. Sooner or later, the individual is in a position where he must sell his soul to get the high the ego needs. My ego was very strong. The evidence that I have of this fact is the ego opponent that I created for myself. The ego opponent that I created for myself was the government, the collective ego mind of the government. Can there be a stronger opponent than the government? I'm sure it's impossible, because behind the government, there are the oligarchs, the cabal, and behind the cabal is the all-seeing eye, the extraterrestrial malevolent entities. I fought a very good fight in this triangle of hell for many years. After the first 6 weeks of incarceration, my ego kept convincing me to continue to fight, because I was fighting the good fight. I had to expose the enemy, the government, and the culprit, the lies, the manipulation, and the corruption. I believed God gave me this responsibility. Now I finally know I only have responsibility to myself, my evolution of consciousness, and nothing else. In order to gain a greater understanding of what our purpose is, we have to mentally understand what is going on around us. This is a huge process, and meditation is simply not enough. If you're moved by my words, please contact me for a private consultation. Infinite